Apologize. Got kicked off for some reason here. So we want to open it up to questions. That was fantastic, Bill. I was able to listen to it, but that was fantastic. So we're going to open it up to questions here now. And the first question is Mike Lopez.
I appreciate both of y'all being on and just being part of the I call it a collective because that's kind of the buzzword, right? When you have a group of people, the a creative collective or whatever. But I appreciate y'all's input and here again the freedom to write these books because I aspire to do so at some point as well. And so you guys are kind of an inspiration to me, and just the way you kind of broke it down, Coach, about how you did it. Now I'm like, oh man, what am I going to do this weekend? Now I know. So it's just really inspiring for the both of y'all. Now, I want to ask you about affirmation because those words, I think of affirmation mean so much to us. Like you talked about self-talk earlier, Coach Phillips, but affirmation for the young people and our staffs and everybody that we surround ourselves with, that we influence. How important is affirmation as far as it leading to influence and then giving us a seat at the table of their hearts? How important is that? That question goes for both of y'all.
Go ahead, Aisha. You want to take that one first?
Sure. I would say that honestly it is very important. Uh, like moments that I talk about in my book were, when I was fell out of love with basketball, or, I started going down a path like just going through the motions. And when I come out of those by basically affirming myself, like when I would play, I would say I'm a passionate basketball player. I would write it down, and nobody could take that away because a lot of times when you're in college, you start hating basketball. You're like, man, my coaches done took my passion away, like stuff like that. But I would have to keep telling myself that, and that was also before I came up with the concept, forget passion, forget, and you need obsession. That was before I came up with that concept. But yeah, I think those are very important because when you step out in the world, like all this negativity come at you, and you're already self-criticizing yourself or whatever the case may be. So like if your player, or even like, I mean, you can think about it when you're on your staff, you do something wrong, you already know, what I'm saying? You already know that you've done it wrong. You already trying to fix it. So if your boss or your coworker come in the firm, you're like, hey, you good? Like it happened. Like I know you are always be on point. That makes you feel good. So having affirmations as like a habit, all it does is like it amplifies that. And I've noticed like with myself, like when you master self talk, like you pretty much can master your mindset because you always know what to tell yourself to get you back in that mindset. So I think it's super important.
Yeah, I'll add on, Mike. That was a great question because I actually almost started what I wanted to say with that. So and then I didn't. So the fact that you're bringing me back to this is awesome. So thank you. So the one affirmation I had written down here that we've all heard that a famous person has used is "I am the greatest." Right? Muhammad Ali. We all know, and even when we hear it or we think about it, right? Like it brings emotion. I know it does for me. Just thinking about him and what he stood for, and obviously how great he was. I think the interesting thing is that that's not the whole quote, right? A lot of people don't know the second half of that quote. And what he said was, I am the greatest. I said that even before I knew I was. Right? So clearly he was using that. Muhammad Ali, the greatest, he was using that as an affirmation for himself. Because he's saying, I was saying that even before I knew I was, right? He was kind of talking that into existence, right? For lack of a better word. So affirmations are huge. Again, I love this. I'm glad you brought me back to this example of Muhammad Ali because I had it right here. And then, I think that's something that as a coach that I do work with players on, you know what I mean? And help them come up with something that will help them. And even to the point where I've asked our video people to take their highlights and then we'll we'll make a little 2 or 3 minute clip of them, of their highlights and with their affirmation at the beginning and the end of the video. So the affirmation is on there for them. They see their highlights, and it's just something that they could watch. You know, they want to watch it on the way to a game. We're on the bus, boom, they watch that 2-3 minutes, and with that reinforcement of the affirmation, which I think can be powerful. So
Thank you. I appreciate that from both of you. Thank you so much.
I wanted to mention this, that it takes 17 positive thoughts to get over one negative thought, or something of that nature. With one negative thought, it takes 17 positive thoughts to kind of get even. So that can almost like affirm right there that affirmations are super important.
Next question, Mary Catherine James.
Thank you. First of all, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much. I joke every day at my job of how I'm going to write a book one day about college admission. So you're my inspiration now, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I really can do this. This is going to be amazing. But I am curious, how long did it really take you to put everything? I mean, you know, it's good to know that you can kind of do it on your own, so to speak, but how long did it take you to get everything together? And how many different people did you show it to before you actually said, okay, I'm ready to, you know, take this to the next level? And have you ever thought about using your book as a first year read, you know, for orientation? Because I think, you know, as an admissions person, that really is our first question that we ask people, like, oh, what are you interested in majoring? You know, and I always say, you know, I always joke with the students, because I'm always like, I'm 55 and I still don't know what I want to do, you know, what my major is or whatever. So I think that would be a great first year read for students. So I would suggest maybe looking into that for your book. But like, how long does it really take you to really kind of, you know, from the beginning thought to actually on Amazon or published?
Thank you for that idea and that suggestion. That's something that's definitely on my radar. If I wasn't playing, if I wasn't like pursuing coaching, I'd probably be working either in admissions or new student programs. So I'm passionate about entering into higher education. But to your question, I wouldn't discourage anybody, but for me, it took a while, because I'm not. It was a chaotic time when I was writing. I was a graduate assistant. I just graduated. I was a graduate assistant, and I'm trying to write a book about success, but I don't feel successful because I'm a GA. You know, no GA is, you know, doing the right thing ever. So, and then so I was transitioning into my career, trying to give advice on how to, you know, get your dream job and stuff like that. So I'm like, so that was all going through my mind as I'm writing, trying to find these concepts. But so to answer your question, it took 3 to 5 years, I would say. But that's because I was transitioning and starting to figure it out. Like, if you already have your content and you're disciplined and you write, okay, I write my content, I'm gonna write for an hour a day. You know, it could take you 6 months, you know what I'm saying, from start to finish. Or it could take you 3 months from start to finish, depending on where your content is. But when my writing process, I always, and this is not a good thing, but I always want to come from the top of my head. Like, I could never just write all my ideas down, or I would like not have my ideas in order, and I would just want to start from the top of my head. So I'm probably not the best example, but I would say 3 to 5 years it took me.
Yeah, and I would say mine was a little different, because it was 366 pages, but I only had to write one page 366 times, if that makes sense, because the entries are somewhat separate. They're grouped by the month. But Aisha had to make sure that it all gelled, connected together. So I don't know how long you want your book to be, and I don't know how much time you have to devote each day to write it, right? But I would say, just to give you an idea, I would say once you have your last draft written, from the time of there to when you're like on Amazon for sale, like, I think that you can get done in anywhere between a month or 2. Like, I think at that point you can go pretty quickly, as far as, you know, again, with this website I use, I mean, I was shocked, one, at how cheap that I could get some of that stuff done, and the quality of the work was still really done, as you know, good, as far as like, I think like logo design, book cover design, formatting. I thought like all that stuff was was good. That stuff you can get turned around quick, like get this book, you put an order in for the book cover, and maybe 4 or 5 days later you have like 3 to 5 samples, and you can go back and forth with them. Oh, I like this, I don't like that. And so again, I don't know how long it would take you to write it, but once you have your final draft, you can get self-published very quickly.
Bill, can you write in the chat the name of the website that you talked about? Okay, fantastic. And also, can you write in the chat where people can get your book?
Will do.
And the next question is Lisa Zing.
Thanks guys for speaking tonight. I have a question for Aisha. I think it was chapter 7. In chapter 7, assignment 3, you talk about staying on your level. And I know I struggle with that a lot, like always comparing myself to other coaches and, oh, they're on this level. And I forget to like stay the course and keep working at it. Like, what was the thought process into that particular assignment in that chapter? Like, what made you, talk about, just staying on your level, burning out, and just not looking at other people and just, staying to yourself?
Yeah, thank you for that question. And I forget that all the time. And I like to say that I wrote this book for myself because this is the advice that I need on a daily basis, right? So I'm very ambitious. So when I was a GA, I would watch my head coach, like everything that she did, like, and so at some point it would stress me out. You know what I'm saying? Like I would internalize her problems like they were my problems, you know what I'm saying? So just trying to make sure that, whenever I do become one, like I'm prepared. But that was a little extreme, as much as I try to internalize that. So it really just came from the idea of being focused, being locked in. And I'll explain a little bit more for people like who don't know what you're referring to. So basically, when you're on your grind, I say you should stay on your level and burn out at your level, because you might be working with somebody, especially in our profession. Like say you're a GA. When I was a GA, that's when I really honed in on that, right? Because I would be working 13-hour days, or sometimes spend night at office before, and the head coach might be leaving at 5, right? But you don't know those 20 years that she's put in, she may can do things quicker than you, or you know what I'm saying, or you might have somebody else who they're focused on their mental health, right? And you don't know that, like they might be leaving the office quick, or they might be, not working on weekends, and you're like, okay, what am I supposed to be doing right now? And it's like you really want to focus on your lane and focus on your level, and then burn out at that level, whatever that level is. Like I said, like your GA years are going to look much different than when you're 20 years as an assistant, and you're married, with kids at home. You know what I'm saying? I hope you're not spending night at the office when you got kids at home, maybe, but it's going to look different. But if you're always playing the comparison game, you're not even going to be able to focus on your job or your responsibility. It's gonna stress you out. So that was when I was in that type of mindset when I wrote that, and when I came up with that concept, because like when we're working in these offices with different people on different agendas, you're like, what am I really supposed to be doing? Who can I model? But it's like this level is this level. The CEO is gonna look different than what the GA is doing. You know what I'm saying? So hope that answered your question. I'm glad you reading the book. So
Yes, thank you.
feel free to hit me up
All
whenever,
right.
if you want to expound on that.
Okay, thanks.
Next question, Jermaine JJ Johnson.
I'm very intrigued by both of you, by being in the college industry and impacting lives, but you also are impacting lives with your book. I mean, TD Jakes wrote a book called Don't Drop the Mic, The Powerful Use of Words. And so what will you give us as this masterclass, 2 nuggets from each one of your books, from Mental Vitamins and To Success Is My Major? What would 2 nuggets you give in order for us, because we have a voice as coaches, as administrators, as leaders, to not drop the mic from your book?
Great question, JJ. Great question.
You want to take that one first, Bill?
Sure. So the first one, I'll go, and I didn't, Kevin told me to talk about this and I forgot to talk about it, but just the title of the book, Mental Vitamins. You got to take your vitamins every day, right? So whether it's, you know, I get on the court with guys and we get in a shooting workout, we start with our vitamins, the shooting, the mechanics, the form shooting. We start small, but we do that every day. So then it's actually pretty funny when the guys on the team heard that I had written a book and it was called Mental Vitamins, the one guy was like, oh, he's like, that's pretty fitting that it would have vitamins in the title, right? Because it's this daily thing and it's about being consistent, right? So the same thing about being consistent with our words and starting your day off with that positive message, I think could impact the rest of your day as well.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
All right, and I would say, you said 2 nuggets. I would say the first one would be, so a question I asked in the book is like, what problem were you born to solve, right? So I think that can go with the theme, don't drop the mic, is because I think everybody was born to solve a specific problem. And if you don't solve the problem that you were born to solve, then you may be, you gonna slip up. You're not gonna show up where you needed to show up. So, and that you figure that out by like knowing your talent, you know, knowing your purpose and things like that. And if you don't show up, then like you dropping the mic. For example, like with my energy, like a problem that I believe that I was born to solve is to set an example and to inspire others, right? So if I'm down, right, I can be like, man, one thing that would happen to me if I had bad energy, like the coaches would tell me, my boss would be on me, and I'm like, somebody else come to the office, they got an attitude every day, but the problem that I was born to solve is different. So like you got to have your own, you know what I'm saying, like what problem we born, that got to be something that you think about constantly. And then the second nugget I would say is in a chapter about mental toughness. And assignment 1 is never confuse mental toughness with resisting the process. Resistance is weak, right? So if you're going through the process or just going through your process in general, you being tasked with different, you know, assignments or whatever the case may be in life, and you're resisting the process, and you may think you being mentally tough, right? You may think not listening is being tough, or you know, when really you're resisting the process. And if you resist, then you know you're gonna fumble the ball because you didn't practice. You know what I'm saying? You didn't do what you need to do. You didn't learn what you need to learn, so you can be ready for that moment. So those are the 2 things that I would say. What problem were you born to solve? And then never confuse mental toughness with resistance, because resistance is weak.
Thank you so much.
Great answers and great nuggets. Next question, Ryan Humphrey.
Hello, how you guys doing? Ryan Humphrey from Notre Dame. Congrats, Bill. You guys both have gave us great nuggets. I don't want to mispronounce your name. Is Aisha?
Aisha, but that's
Aisha, I apologize. That's why I asked. Thank you for your book. I got a question for both of you guys. A lot of times, fear of failure keeps us from taking that step and that leap.
Amen.
Keeps us from really, fulfilling our passion and our goals and dreams.
Ryan, can you repeat that question? It cut in and out.
Can you hear me?
We
Hold
can
on.
hear you now.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm in my kid's car. Fear of failure. You guys had to take that step and that next leap of faith. A lot of times as coaches or just professionals, we're fearful of the outcome. So what advice do you have for us to be vulnerable, to take that next step?
Mm-hmm. Bill, go ahead and answer that.
Yep. I'll go ahead. What's up, Hump? appreciate the question. The first thing I'll say is about the book Mental Vitamins. Every month has its own trait that I think is necessary for an athlete to become the best he can be or she can be. And one of those months, April, is all about courage. So it's the whole month of April is quotes about courage and overcoming some of that fear that you're talking about. And then, you know, when you're putting something out there, you are being vulnerable and you know, I think I hit on it a little bit earlier when I said, you know, just like writing is a muscle, I think, you know, being vulnerable is a muscle too. And the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it, and there's going to be less friction every time you do it. So, you know, maybe that's starting with blog posts, right? You start your blog, you're putting it out there and kind of getting comfortable with putting yourself out there. And then maybe those are maybe that's the training wheels that you need to finally get to the book where you feel comfortable enough, you know, putting your name on a book and putting that out there in the world. But again, you know, I think players, you know, we tell them they have to be confident, but also just with that experience, it becomes easier and easier to do. And I think the same thing applies to writing and putting yourself out there. The more you do it, the easier it's going to be and the less friction there's going to be going forward. So.
All right, so it's my time. I like to get, like, you know, the exact frameworks that I wrote in when I'm answering questions. So that's why I keep looking at it, because I don't remember everything like Lil Wayne. I don't remember my raps. But so I would say, like, for about fear, I mean, that's big, because, you know, putting a book out there is difficult, because one, you're gonna get attention on you, right? And then it's like, and what are the people around me gonna say, like things like that. And I went through that, and that was a difficult process that I had to, like, kind of go through and think about. When I was interviewing for Kentucky, I was in the process of writing, and I told them in my interview, because I wanted to make sure they knew. But you definitely putting yourself out there, you know, to be vulnerable, whatever the case may be. But one of the concepts that I have is, like, put all your eggs in one basket, let God take care of the rest. So if you got something that's, like, really on your heart that you want to do, and you feel like you can go all in on it, you just got to be like, I'm gonna put all my eggs in this one basket and let God take care of the rest. I know we like to say, don't put all your eggs in one basket, but I challenge that thought to thinking, okay, if I go all in on this, then let's see what happens. You know what I'm saying? You can't really feel the outcome, because you don't know what the outcome will be. And the story that I tell in that concept is that I wanted to be the graduate assistant at St. John's. I wanted to move to New York City, right? I was having everybody call him, Joe Tartamella, who was the coach there. I was having everybody call him, everything like that. And I had all my eggs in one basket. But because of that process, I interviewed, like, I don't know how many times. I made sure my resume was on point for me to get to the path that I was supposed to be on, right? So me just going in prepared me for the opportunity that I was going to be awarded to later. So it's all about preparation and enjoying the process. And I know that term is like enjoying the process, but, like, just really just going all in and wanting to see what happened on the other side. And another thing I would say is, one thing I wrote in here as well is, like, when you're chasing your dream, like, you also got to prepare for the nightmare that comes with the dream, right? Or that comes before the dream. So it's always gonna be a nightmare before. Like, Bill sound like his way was kind of smooth, but, like, people asked me, how was it writing your book? I was like, oh, it was a nightmare. But for me, that's just how I think, you know. But yeah, so, like, you got to prepare for the nightmare that comes before the dream, because you just got to know that it's gonna be worth it on the other side. So, and when you prepare for it, right, whatever those things are, and that concept, that's not to scare anybody. That concept is to just be prepared for it and be prepared for any type of outcome or the plan that you want to take when it comes to chasing your dreams. So.
And the one thing that we preach here at Living Trophies Master Zoom class is that vulnerability is a strength. You know, we don't look at vulnerability as a weakness. And when we take those opportunities to put ourselves out there to be exposed, it's a sign of our strength and our belief in ourselves. So vulnerability is a strength and not a weakness. Next question, Rob O'Driscoll.
Actually, Rob, I'm gonna interrupt you real quick. And you know, Kevin, you talk about that vulnerability, and then hopefully, not hopefully, like that's something we need to be examples of as leaders, right? So I think Hump's question was a good one, but if we can't get over our feel of failure, then how can we preach that to the people that we lead, right? So just wanted to add that in. Rob, go ahead.
No problem. I first off, Aisha and Bill, congrats to you both. Writing a book is something that I think everybody that coaches college basketball always says, yeah, one day I got to write a book, one day I got to write a book. And congrats to both of you because you actually have done it and have accomplished it. The questions I have are kind of a two-part question. The first question is, what feedback have you gotten from people that you don't know that have read the book? And the second part is, do you guys have plans to write any other books?
I'll go. I've gotten amazing feedback. My mom sent me a picture, a video yesterday of one of her players reading the book out loud. Her mom, like the player's mom, was making her read the book out loud, and I just was like, wow. I just was like, wow. You know, I get messages sometimes, DMs, like, hey, like, I can't put the book down. Like, wow, this will be perfect for, you know, all student athletes or whatever the case may be. I've gotten, you know, this book has been a blessing to my soul. You know what I'm saying? I've gotten feedback like that. And it's just, you know, it's confirmation that I'm doing what I set out to do, because that was the goal. So that was the first question. What was the second question?
Do you have any plans to write another book?
Oh, at first I would have said absolutely not, but I've been toying with some concepts, because, you know, I do want a coaching career, and I know what that takes. But you know, I kind of, in my mind, I was like, this is gonna be, you know, my book that I do before I get into coaching, and then, you know, we'll see what happens with that. But I have been toying with some concepts, so if I can get it done by 30, maybe. If I can get it done before I get a coaching job, then it may be it. And it's about setting boundaries and things like that. So.
Well, we know you, Aisha, very well, and she will be writing the second book. Trust me.
No promises, no promises, but maybe.
Bill Phillips.
Yeah. So a couple things. One interesting thing with mental vitamins, again, it's for, you know, the subtitle is for aspiring athletes. But I've actually had a couple people that have said they've bought it for their like corporate sales teams, and that it's been a big hit with them. So that was pretty cool. I think the leaders of those sales teams are probably sports fans, so they kind of tied that in. But again, it worked for them, which is awesome. And then the other thing that was really cool, and it's not somebody I completely don't know, but somebody that I know gifted, actually somebody you know, Kayla Miller, gifted this book to some girls that she trains. And then what I didn't know is that girl, my wife's a middle school assistant principal, and that girl goes to her school. And then my wife got a text from that girl's father that was like, hey, is this your husband? He was like, yeah, I read this. Well, we read this together every night, like one page a night. And I thought that was really, really cool. And that was awesome that kind of, you know, came back full circle. So that was cool. And then, yeah, I mentioned it before, working on another book, fiction. I'll put the title out there because it'll force me to do it. It's going to be,
Keep it under wraps. I'm going to steal it.
everything you need is inside. And it's going to be about a boy who is climbing a mountain.
Awesome. Absolutely awesome. Next question, Coach Morgan, Amaro Morgan.
Yeah, this has been great. This has been outstanding. Both of y'all are brilliant minds, so this has been really cool. But the question I have is, at what point did you all like realize that you wanted to write a book? Was it something that, you know, you were just a determined individual that you said you were going to do it? You know, it's something you always wanted to do and you just followed through. Was it something like you said, like words of affirmation from somebody that was important to you, like one of your, you know, coworkers or mentors that said, like, you know, you're an extremely knowledgeable person. You might, you know, you have a story to tell or something to tell people and encourage people, and inspire people. Like what led to you, and what point did you, like, was it a light bulb or that just went off that encouraged you to go ahead and follow through?
Okay, I'll go first. So I would say, so I started off writing a blog. You know, I'm very curious. I didn't grow up like wanting to write a book. I got the book when I started reading, so probably about 19 in college when I really got into like personal development. And I don't know if I said this earlier, but like I had questions for people around me, and you know, sometimes people around you, they give you blanket advice or they give you advice that's from their perspective. So I started reading, you know, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, How to Win Friends and Influence People. How to Win Friends and Influence People. And I started reading those books, and like I have like hundreds of books back here. You can't see all of them, but I was like, you know, I want to do for somebody. I want to do for somebody what was done for me, and yeah, it was just like I felt like I had to, because you know, I'm I'm just out in the public, like people don't want to listen to, you know what I'm saying, like your coaches, I mean your players or whoever, you know, if you try and tell them something, you know, they think they know. But if it's in a book, you can't argue with a book. You can disagree, but you can't sit there and argue with a book. So I wanted opportunity to get, you know, thoughts out and inspire people and provide concepts that people can understand that you don't necessarily get. So I would say like authors became my best friend, and like I would just want to do that for somebody else. And it was hard to follow through, but it was just something I would just always think about. I kind of wanted to like prove my intelligence almost. That was kind of like really what pushed me, like just like the concept I had, like forget passion, you need an obsession. Like I hate when people like underestimate me, so I underestimate my intelligence. So I really wanted to conceptualize something to show, you know, what I know or how I can help people. So
I hit on my reason a little bit earlier, and I left like a part out. I guess there's been times throughout my career as a coach where during our season I would send a quote to the guys every single day. And then I was kind of looking for, again, like, is there a book like this where, you know, there's something with the quote and like a passage connecting that, you know, specifically for athletes. And you know, I didn't think that was out there. So again, it was a little bit of scratching my own itch of, you know, what am I looking for? Okay, well, maybe I need to put it out there then. And I've also heard it put as you know, you should write the book if you can't not write the book. You know what I mean? Like, so if there's a book in you that's dying to get out, then you should write it.
Great question. Next question, Bob Walsh.
Thanks, Coach. Guys, Bill, Aisha, congratulations. This is great stuff. Could you share with us what's the most important thing you learned about yourself through the process of writing a book?
Man, a lot, a lot. I would say believe in your vision is one thing that's really important. And just like one, like follow your own advice, because everything, like I said, this book was like a 5-year process. So I was going through different stages and learning different things. And a lot of times I would, you know, come to have a issue or anything, something I'm struggling with, and it will already be written down. And it could have been something I wrote 2 years ago, but it was already like written down and conceptualized. So I would say, believe in your vision and follow your own advice is probably the biggest thing I learned about myself. Like you already have everything you have, everything you need, you have in you, basically.
Yeah, I would echo a lot of that. I would also say, it reinforces the power of showing up every day, doing something consistently, and what you can accomplish when you string a bunch of those days together. And that now I know I can write one, I know gives me even more confidence and desire to write the second one, even though it'll be a completely different deal than this one.
Great question, Bob. Thank you so much. Next question, Mike Greenman.
Thank you. But Bill and Aisha, it's been awesome. Really enjoyed listening to both of you. And you kind of both touched on something that we talked about, I think Coach Hump asked about the courage it takes to write a book, and just kind of putting your words down on a piece of paper and not being afraid to give it out to everyone else and see that feedback. And I'm kind of going to take that a little bit further and just ask, like, when you were getting feedback from it, when you first put it out, what kind of things did you do to balance yourself? Like I've done a couple things that I'm sending, like my goal is to become an NBA basketball, like an NBA coach to some extent, in the near future. And I'm doing certain projects, certain things to try to get myself noticed, anything you can do to get yourself noticed. And when you send it out, it's like you're sitting there and you're thinking about that email, like, why aren't there, like, you just like sitting there and waiting for any type of feedback at all. What kind of things did both of you do during that process, or while you were getting feedback, or after you got feedback, to kind of balance yourself and just make sure, like, kind of staying in your lane, or just staying focused on yourself and not worrying about, what other people are doing, kind of in that same vein? Was there something that kind of like humbled or balanced you, just to be like, it doesn't matter who or what said anything, this is something that I myself am proud of?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and jump on this one, Aisha. I would say, you don't write for other people's feedback, or for acclaim or anything like that, right? Like, I think you have to do it for the right reasons, and it might not be for everybody, right? So you're sending your stuff out, you might not be for everybody, but you just need one person to give you a chance, right? So, in the same vein, I feel like if I write something and it impacts one person greatly, then it was worth it, right? Just like you just need that one person to give you a chance, right? So you're not writing for everybody, if that makes sense.
Definitely.
I would say that's hard for me, because like I said, I was going through different transitions as I was writing, and and scared a little bit. It was very fearful. I would say, and I'm gonna tell you guys where I messed up. Right, so I messed up when I put the book out for pre-order. I was very anxious. I put the book out for pre-order, thinking I was gonna be done with it in 3 months, 3 to 6 months, and I don't think I released it for another year and a half. And from that day, it was January 1st, 2019 to December 2020. When I finished it, it was the most it was the most agony. Like it was tough. But I would say, remember, like, who you're doing it for, and like stay locked in on you, right? Because if you worry about results, then, or if you worry about what people are gonna say, then it's gonna bring you, like, it's gonna take you all over the place. And yeah, so I would just say like, just stay true to yourself. Um, you know, get silent. I don't know if you pray, like praying, meditating, like really trying to silence the noise. Um, and then, you'll be good. And I will say, like, when I finally sent in my final rough draft, because I had about 4 drafts. When I finally sent in my final draft, I didn't care if anybody read it. And that's when I knew that I was at peace with the product. Didn't care that anybody read it. I was like, this, I'm happy with this product. So
Great question. Next question, Joseph Kuykendall.
Coach Bill and Aisha, thank you. I would say I have the book right here, Bill. And I don't know if this was on purpose, but I got to read one snippet from today. Just 3 lines because it kind of relates to this group, but it says humility is there to balance us, to help us keep our feet on the ground so that we respect the path to mastery and where we are on it. So I don't think you did that on purpose, but maybe it's meant to be. My question, because I have this book in front of me, kind of is tailored towards Coach Bill, but Aisha, I think you can touch on it too. Bill, you had different categories for the 12 months. So how did you decide? Was there a science to what category was to each month and kind of what was put on each day, and more so the ordering of the book? And then Aisha, how did you decide this belongs here, this belongs after this, and all that stuff in terms of what readers got to first or later in the book?
Yeah, great question. And so I use these 3 words to like live by: love, grow, build. And I say, like, love what you do, grow who you are, build something greater than yourself. And I kind of broke down the 12 traits into those 3 subheadings, if you will. So as far as the 12 traits, character, passion, courage, belief, humility, on and on, work ethic, leadership, all those that I have in there. It was hard. It was hard to get to 12. And that 12, there was probably like 7 or 8 that were like absolutely going to be in there. And then there was a couple that was like, is it drive or is it work ethic? And bounce some ideas off of my wife, because I think she's a great leader. So I, valued her opinion. I asked other people, like, hey, if you had to narrow that, if you had 12, what would your 12 be? And so just got that, and then narrowed those, got those down to the 12, and that I thought fit into those 3 words, love, grow, and build. And I think love what you do. I think part of that is like who you are as a person, and there's character involved. And then I think, growing who you are and improving in the things needed for you to improve. And then I think once you do that, now you're looking outside of yourself and it's build something greater than yourself. And obviously that culminates with leadership for me in the 12 months. So that's kind of what I had. Was there another part, or was that everything, Mark?
That was it.
All right, awesome. Thank you.
yeah, so the way I structured mine was so I did an extensive amount of research. I wanted to, just like if you're doing anything, you want to study the best. So I would read other books and listen to the commentary of the author to kind of see their process, what made this go there, this go there. One of the books that I studied as far as framework wise was Atomic Habits. That structure is very particular about the way that's structured. And I would say that's probably the hardest part. You can whip up some content, but the hardest part is like the structure and the framework and how you want the reader to receive it. So, I had a theme for mine. So since my theme was college, I tried to make sure that I aligned the lessons with the order in which you should learn such things. So like the first part of it is like your freshman year, and like you should be self-awareness first, purpose, and your talent. You know what I'm saying? Once you know that, you can go to the other thing, right? You can prepare your mindset. All right. And does it happen in this order? No, but that's the way, like if it could be written out, I think that it should be, you know what I'm saying? So now after you got those things, you can prepare your mindset for success. And then when you do that, now you can get to work. You can start grinding. You can start building a resume. And then, so I kind of like put it the way college works, like your junior year, you start doing internships, you start getting in those major classes. So part 3 for me is about building a resume, getting mentors and networking, things like that, kind of things that you should be doing in your junior year. And then with your senior year, I put it so like it's kind of like the myth of graduation. At the end of the day, what does it mean, right? And then, you know, we all know that the end of the journey is really the beginning of the journey. So the healing process from like when you actually get to where you want to be at, as a process that you go through to start back over. So you know, I feel like that's kind of the journey with life or accomplishing goals. So I try to match it up with kind of what you experience in college.
Thank you.
Last question goes to Griffin Swartz. Griffin, are you there?
Hi, yeah. Hey, sorry about that. Thank you guys so much. It's really great. I mean, it's just great, Coach Sutton, that I mean, we're all in basketball in some way, and we talk about other things, and these are just really important topics. And one of my questions, you guys talked about your criticism and having positive feedback. One of my questions is, how do you guys deal with the negative feedback you guys get?
I would say, I mean, during the process, it was, you know, kind of ate me up a little bit. Sometimes I would, you know, go into, you know, just dwelling on, you know, negativity. So one thing what I've learned about myself in general is that I'm a big energy person, and I'm very adaptable. So if I'm around bad energy, I can adapt to it, or, you know, things like that. So one thing I learned about myself is that I need to do preventative things. So in the morning, making sure I have affirmations, or that I journal, or that I clear my mind and things like that. You know, that's just general. The way I stay away from negativity, or where I get over negativity. But, you know, as I was writing the book, I always believed that it was going to be what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like I never, I always took any type of feedback and thought like, how can I use this to help? I didn't really see it as negative. Yeah, I just kind of, I got an assignment in my book. It's called Use Feedback to Your Advantage. And also another assignment in our book is learn when emotions are appropriate and use them accordingly. So it's like, you know, sometimes you gotta compartmentalize certain type of information. Like, okay, what is this? What is this? When my editor would say, it's too long. You know, how can I take that? Am I listening? Okay, yes, all right, it's too long. But then at one time, my editor wanted to cut out a story, you know, that I believe that I should keep. So at that point, I was like, okay, I followed my gut, and I kept that one. But all the technical things, you know, I took it for what it was. So it just kind of just like trying to use the feedback, just hear what people are saying, use the feedback, and then, you know, at the end of the day, just making sure you have rituals to get you back center, like working out every day, or walking, or whatever the case may be, you know what I'm saying, doing things like that, get you center.
Before we bring this session to a close, we have a special friend of mine that happens to be in the audience tonight, in class tonight, and he also wrote a book, and the title of the book is Entitled to Nothing, and that person is Bob Walsh. So I'm gonna ask Bob if he wouldn't mind answering 2 questions that I have for him and for our class, you know, tonight. Okay. One is, Bob, the first question is, where did the inspiration for the book come from? And second, you know, why did you write this book?
Thanks, Kevin. Yeah, this has been, it's been fascinating to me, because I don't think I've been as introspective as Aisha and Bill regarding the whole process. So this has really been a great insight into kind of the way you think about it. I released the book, I think in December, middle of December. It was something that, it took me over probably 6 to 7 years to write. It was something I was just doing in the summer as kind of a project to keep my mind sharp. Like both Bill and Aisha said, I write because I enjoy it and I feel like it makes me a better coach. I've learned that, and I've had a website and I've had a blog, and really the inspiration for the book was just when I became a head coach at Rhode Island College. I was part of a really special culture, and a culture that I'm not sure I'll ever be able, to meet or match again. That we built over 9 years at Rhode Island College. And I kind of knew going through it that what we were doing was special and we had a lot of success. And I just thought the story was a good one. That was really how I started writing it. And I thought it had some value to it. And then as I wrote it, in the summers when I had some downtime, it became sort of how I developed my leadership philosophy and what I call an uncommon approach to leadership. So that was really the inspiration. It was a team that I was lucky to be a part of. My first 2 years as a head coach, it really tells that story of taking over a program that hadn't had much success. And then in our second year, we ended up in the Elite Eight. And it was just kind of a special culture and a special group. As I wrote the story, I realized how much I learned from that team that shaped my, my approach to leadership and coaching. So I appreciate it, Kevin.
Oh, absolutely. It's a fantastic book, and Bob, really appreciate you coming on tonight. Thank you, Aisha. Thank you, Bill, and also thank you, Bob. For being our speakers tonight. On the Living Trophies Master Zoom class. Your honesty, your vulnerability, and your willingness to share will prove to be helpful to all of us as we continue to evolve as people, as professionals, and as leaders in this business. So I want to just say thank you so much for coming on, on our show, tonight. Public service announcement: to view the recording of the show, you can go on the Living Trophy YouTube channel and click subscribe. It'll be up over the weekend. Next week's class will be on Thursday, May 13th at 7:30. And our guest for next week was in the audience tonight, and that's Mike Greenman. And he's going to give a demonstration, and it's a fantastic demonstration. I would highly, highly recommend that you come back and be a part of the Living Trophies Master Zoom class next week, because what he's going to demonstrate for us is just simply outstanding. And our parting words tonight are really simple ones. If your path is difficult, it is because your purpose is bigger than your thought. If your path is difficult, it is because your purpose is bigger than your thought. Continue to embrace the challenges of life, because it is preparing you to live your life's purpose. I'm always encouraged and inspired by each and every one of you when we have a class each week. I want to say thank you, because iron sharpens iron. And like Coach JJ says all the time, iron does indeed sharpen iron. But when we go into battle, the battle will be swift, because our swords will be twice as sharp. Thank you and have a great weekend. Continue to be blessed, and I'll see everybody next week. Aisha, fantastic. Bill Phillips, fantastic. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend.
Thank y'all.
Thank you,
Thanks,
guys.
guys.
Appreciate
Absolutely.
everybody coming.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
Ever.
Kevy.
You can't see me. My cameras are doing.
I know what's
got
up with your
wonky.
camera.
I don't know, MC. They got wonky.